This video is brought to you by REP Gaming Products. Help protect your deck and support the show by picking up a steel deck box from the link down below. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Much Abrew About Nothing. So last week, during your Instant Deck Decks, it was the crazy modern deck, Gate Worship Walls, whatever, a pile of gates and just a mixture of craziness that came out on top. So today, we are heading to Modern to see if we can pick up some wins with this insane pile of jank, and it should be interesting. I don't know, I have no idea, I'm kind of nervous, I don't know if we'll win a game or not. Hopefully we do, we will see, but this is a janky one. Hopefully it does some really fun things at least sometimes. So, other thing worth mentioning before we jump into our quick 2-minute refresher deck, if you want a full breakdown, check out the Instant Deck Tech, where we go on at length about the deck, but only $200 at paper, 22 ticks online, so not quite budget by our definition, but still pretty cheap for a modern deck. Anyway, a quick reminder before we break down Gate Worship Walls for Modern. If you enjoyed this deck, and you enjoyed Much Abrew in general, it would be amazing of you if you could take a second, click that subscribe button down at the bottom of your screen. It's a great way to support the channel and the site for free. So let's talk some Gate Worship Walls, starting with the mana base. So we have a few untapped lands of the green variety, and then we have a ton of Guildgates, I think like 18 altogether, an enormous amount of Guildgates. So why are we playing all these Guildgates? Well, number one, we got Guild Summit, a standard trick just to allow us to draw a bunch of cards, churn through our deck at lightning speed. Then we also have a more unique modern payoff in Hold the Gates, which is a weird card. It gives all of our creatures +0/+1 for each gate we control, and they have vigilance. So why is toughness boosting important to this deck? And that is because we are trying to kill our opponent by dealing damage equal to our creature's toughness rather than our power. So Arcades, Assault Formation, do this and also allow creatures with Defender to attack. Doran, just really big. It's a 0/5. If we have a Hold the Gate, it's even massiver. So ways we can close out the game with these creatures that don't look all that threatening, but are really threatening because we're dealing damage equal to their toughness. Combined with these cards, we have a bunch of walls. Birds of Paradise, Sylvan Caryatid, just help us ramp into our deck, give us sort of more mana sources to accelerate into our bigger things, which is important since we have so many tap lands. Wall of Shards, massive if it can attack, hitting for 8 in the air. Then we have some janky walls. Wall Omens draws a card, Tree of Redemption. It's kind of cute with Hold the Gates because if we boost the toughness, we can kind of go infinite to some extent with multiple copies of Tree of Redemption and never die until they're off the battlefield. Spellskite for protection. Night of Autumn, I don't know why this is in our deck. It gains us life. I mean, it's a fine card. I guess it can kill our own Guild Summit so we don't mill out. Deals with Blood Moon, maybe, if we can cast it. Worship is our other big plan for this deck, which allows us to stay alive against combo decks. Our walls, some of them have hexproof, most of them have a lot of toughness, so we should be able to stick a creature on the battlefield, and then we just don't die to damage. So it's a way we stay alive against a lot of the unfair decks in the format. Heroic Intervention kicks off the sideboard, giving us a way to protect our team and our worship. Then we have Crumble to Dust to deal with Tron. Really don't want to lose to Tron. Auriok Champion to gain us some life. Pithing Needle, kind of a catch-all. Nimble Obstructionist, maybe we want to stifle something. One Damping Sphere to shut down combo. And that is Gate Worship Walls for Modern, and that's our Much Abrew deck for this week. So this should be an adventure. I'm a little nervous about the mono tap land issue. We do have a few untapped lands, but really most of our lands are coming into play untapped. So we're going to be playing a little bit off curve, but the deck seems like, if it gets going, it can be pretty powerful, so hopefully, we will pick up some wins with it. So fingers crossed on that one. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Let's get to the gameplay, see if it actually works. Hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back in a bit with a wrap-up. Alright, Much Abrew About Nothing time. Oh my god, no lands. We're doing it. Gate Wall Worship. We have no gates, that's the problem. We got walls, we got worships. We have many Hold the Gates. Yeah, we gotta ship that. Okay. Well, we have gates and walls. I think we put the next gate to the bottom. Well, let's see how this works. Island for our opponent. Oh my god. Oh no. Okay. Dead. We're dead. We're so dead. I don't think this deck can ever beat Mill. Never. Oh my god, another crab. Oh no. Swamp. Off to a good start. Yeah, there goes stuff. There goes stuff. Opponent knows what's up. So if there's any chance we have a beating mill, geez, double Hedron Crab. We don't have removal for that, and worship doesn't help against mill. Worship only cares about damage. I'll play Selesnya Guildgate. I guess if we have any chance, it's going to be playing this Wall of Shards, playing Arcades, and just beating down as quickly as possible. Glimpse, mills 10. Alright, opponent passes. Well, Wall of Shards, Guildgate, pass the turn. I mean, that's our plan. Let's see if there's any hope. No removal, please. Opponent hits a land, which mills 6. Maybe we should just have an Eldrazi for the mill matchup, just to stick it to him. Yup. 29 cards left. Opponent. Visions of Beyond. Refuels. Yes, does not feel like a winnable matchup. It actually feels like hilariously bad. Opponent. Passing. Well, Wall of Shards. You gain a life. Play a Forest. Play Arcades. Go to combat. Attack. Hit our opponent down to 13. Pass the turn. Alright, opponent, are we dead? Watery Grave. Untap down to 11. Well, if somehow we untap, I think we actually have lethal, which is hilarious. Assuming our opponent doesn't have, like, removal or life gain or something. Opponent passes. Alright, opponent gains 2. Okay, so hold the gates. 1, 2, 3. I mean, if they have anything, we're dead. So I think we Temple Garden untapped. Play Wall of Shards. See if this draws out anything. Opponent. Thinking. They could have, like, Crypt Incursion to gain 1,000,000 life, and then, yeah. 1, 2. We have a lot of creatures in our graveyard. Yeah, if they have Crypt Incursion, then not much we can do. Not much we can do about anything here, other than just, like, slam our stuff and hope. So we draw a card. Worship. Not the right matchup for that. Well, hold the gates. Combat. Do they have something? Oh, they do. Oh. Alright. Well, they're playing Cryptic. Interesting. Alright, well, are we dead? We should be. I mean, 20 cards is not much when you have double Hedron Crab. Opponent. Mind Funeral. Down to 9. Wait, is there hope? Do we have hope? Is this working? I mean, we have a ton of power. Do they not have it? Opponent. Passing. Okay, well, pay for our gates. I mean, Fatal Push, I guess, also ruins it, but pay for our gates. We draw. Worship. Well, play a Guildgate. Go to combat. Attack. Ah! Oh, God. Yep. So we hit our opponent for 15, and they go to 2. Alright. I don't think this really matters. We'll cast a Knight of Autumn. Put the counters on it. Well, I mean, we kind of made it close somehow. For a matchup that is not winnable, we made it close. Opponent. Land. Alright. And that does it. Fetch land, mills enough. And, yeah. Well, mill, eh? We have, literal nothing. This matchup is not winnable. There's a roughly 0% chance that we will beat mill. Permanents you control gain. Alright, so I guess Heroic Intervention. Crumble the Dust doesn't seem good enough. Pithing Needle, no. Life Gain, no. I guess Nimble Obstructionist? I mean, so I think all we can really do here is just attack, and hope. Our Jacob Outplan with Worship is not very effective in this matchup, and we don't have anything that's specifically helpful against Mills, so we just kind of run it out there and cross our fingers. I mean, we kind of made it a game. Unfortunately, our deck is built around drawing a lot of cards, which isn't necessarily what you want against the Hedron Crab deck. All right, we get to play first. All right, here we come. Salt Formation. Coming for you. Guildgate, go. About it. At least we can play our Shocklands untapped, because they're not going to kill us with damage. Flooded Strand. Opponent. Ooh, no crab. Well, I do like not having a crab there. Temple Garden. untapped, Sylvan Caryatid. Opponent cracks. Watery Grave, tapped. I mean, the other kind of nice thing is we don't have any fetch lands, so no concerns about Archive Trap, really. Swamp for our opponent. Mesmeric Orb. Oh, Lord. Alright, that's less than ideal. Well, we get milled. Guild Summon. Guild Summon is almost hilariously bad here. Well, I guess we do have these Knight of Autumns, which does naturally kill a Mesmeric Orb before it gets too out of control. So I guess that kind of went fine. We milled 2 lands that we didn't really want anyway. Opponent. Hedron Crab. Alright, there's Krabby. Flooded Strand. So here comes the milling. Our clock is not very fast at the moment. Cracks. Land. Mills. There goes Arcades. Opponent. Glimpse. Alright, they're just milling away. Alright, well, we untap Forest. So, play Assault Formation. Let Caryatid attack. Go to combat. Attack. Opponent takes it. Play a Guildgate. Pass the turn. Alright, so opponent's at 14. And? Oh, double crab again. We just cannot get... We don't have a way to kill a crab. I think our deck... It figures we can just block annoying creatures, but Hedron Crab doesn't work that way. Mind Funeral, 19 cards. Yup. Opponent, passing. Still at 14. Well, play Caryatid. Let Caryatid attack. Go to combat. Attack. Opponent takes it. 10. Azorius Guildgate. Pass the turn. Well, the problem is also they can just bounce this Abrew. Down to 8. Mills. Yup. 15. 12. And full price Archive Trap. Alright. Well, so far so bad for Kate Worship Walls. Although, Mill isn't a very heavily played deck, and it is literally, it's about as unwinnable can get, I think, for this deck. This is the nightmare matchup. None of the stuff our deck is trying to do is helpful, and we're not really, like, the advantage of our deck is we lock you with Worship and draw a lot of cards. Those are things that do nothing against Mill, so let's just chalk that up to not a good matchup for our deck. Not at all. Alright, let's try again. Alright, much brew about nothing time. We are playing some Gate Wall Worship, and this hand actually looks surprisingly functional. Turn 2 Caryatid, turn 3 Doran, I guess? Into Tree of Redemption? Something like that. Opponent. Grim Lavamancer. So Wizards, I would think. Opponent passes. I'll play a Forest, play Caryatid. Pass the turn. Delver of Secrets for our opponent and Flooded Strand. Yup. Opponent passes. Well, let's... How do we want to do this? Let's Guild Summit. Yup. Play a gate. Draw a card. Combo. It's a combo. Pass the turn. We could use a wall of shards to block this Delver. Opponent. Worship actually is probably pretty good against our opponent's deck. If we get it down. Delver, does it flip? No. Opponent cracks Flooded Strand. Shuffles away. Steam Vents. I guess Tree of Redemption could be hilariously effective too. Island. Opponent. Combat. Attacks. Yup. Hits us. Down to 18. Play a gate. Draw a card. Play Tree of Redemption. Does it resolve? If this resolves, oh, we're so happy. I don't know if they can beat a Tree of Redemption. It's working. Okay. What do you got, opponent? Nimble Obstructionist. Yep. Keeping the pressure on. Opponent. Delver. Does it flip? It does not. Opponent. Gonna go attacking. Well, yeah, we'll block a Delver. Drop to 14. Opponent plays a land, passes. 13, 16. I'll play a Guildgate. Draw a card. Play Assault formation. Do we just attack? We can hit for 13. 6, 7, 8. There's a chance we just die on the backswing, though. I think what we do is green, white, white. Knight of Autumn. Gain some life. Up to 18. Pass the turn. Opponent, Wizard's Lightning. Okay. Down to 15. Lightning Bolt. Down to 12. Okay. Opponent, Delver. No flip. Lavamancer, part 2. Oh, we really want to worship. Opponent gets in. Yeah. Down to 9. Opponent passes. I'll play Guild Summit. No tapping. Play a Guildgate. Double draw. Guild Summit. Tree of Redemption. Play Sylvan Caryatid. Get him a Knight of Autumn. Ugh. I don't know if this is going to be enough. This is a matchup where we really need a worship. Opponent, Lavamancer blocks. Trades. Pass the turn. Opponent, untaps. Delver. Does it flip? It does with a Spell Snare. Opponent, combat. Attacks. Well, go up to 13. We got to do it now, unfortunately. So we go to 13. We drop to 7. Oh, we need a worship. We need it so desperately. Opponent passes. Play a Guildgate. Draw a card. Worship. Ooh, that's a worship. Play worship. Please resolve. Please. Oh, all right, resolves. And now we play second Tree of Redemption. And pass the turn. All right, opponent. What do you do? We got it sort of locked in. Does this work? It's done! It's done! The worship, it came through! As janky as this deck looks, I imagine that's roughly the game plan. It looks so janky, but it kind of worked. We drew a bunch of cards. It found us our worship. We have Tree of Redemptions that are unkillable. Game. Opponents play Wizards. We got no sideboard cards for Wizards. Wall of Shards is actually pretty good. I mean, I think that's our main game plan, is to roughly do that. We could bring in Obstructionist just to have another blocker. Heroic Intervention to protect our stuff. What would we go down? That's the other question. Night of Autumn. They could have Blood Moons. Incidental Auriok Champion life gain. Maybe we just run it back? I mean, Obstructionist seems fine, but it also dies to all their removal, which doesn't seem that exciting. Maybe we go +1 Heroic Intervention, down 1 Hold the Gates, +1 Heroic Intervention, down 1 Night of Autumn? Try it like that? This pile. Oh, well, we're up a game. Oh boy, this is a surprisingly reasonable looking hand. I mean, by our deck standards, it's not reasonable at all, but you know what I mean. Opponent, land, and passes. Well, land and Birds of Paradise. If our opponent has to spend their mana killing bird, or spend their burn spells killing birds, we're pretty happy with that. Pass the turn. All right, bird 1 down. Wall of Shards seems really good against what our opponent's doing. Spire Bluff. And passes. Well, let's Birds of Paradise. Simic Guildgate. Go. Opponent. Flooded Strand. Cracks Flooded Strand. Yep. Steam Vents. Untapped. Snapcaster. Well, 4 Bolt. They're fighting hard to keep our birds off the battlefield. Opponent. Passes. Well, Temple of Garden untapped. Temple Garden. Play Wall of Shards. Alright, opponent, you're going to gain some life. Much life. But, you're not going to attack us. Opponent. Steam Vents. Untapped. Combat. No attacks. Alright. Opponent starts gaining life. We wouldn't mind drawing a land here. No land. Well, yeah. Let's assault formation. See if our opponent has a counter. No. Alright, well, Wall of Shards may attack. Combat. 8 you? Okay. It's not technically a 2-turn clock because we gotta force our opponent to gain life. Wizard's Lightning, our face. To 15. Ugh, Snapcaster Wizard's Lightning. 12, 8. Yeah, that is a little rough. Okay. Well, we might We might be losing this race. Opponent untaps. Land. Gets in. Down to 8. 2 cards in hand. Passes. Well, you gain some life. We draw. Guildgate. Well, yeah, I think we have to keep attacking. Wall of Shards. Can attack. Go to combat. Hit you to 2. Play a Guildgate. Pass the turn. All right, opponent. Can you kill us? Snapcaster. So they got to draw a burn spell. They need a burn spell. Untaps. No burn. No burn. No burn. No burn, no flyers. Opponent. Combat. Hits us to 2. Yeah. Down to 2. What do you got? Passes. Well, you gain some life. We draw. Guildgate. Well, Wall of Shards can attack. Hold the gates. Remands. Combat. Attack. There's the Obstructionist. Ugh, that's what I assumed they had. Maybe we shouldn't have played anything because of the possibility of them remanding into anything. I'm pretty sure that they had it the whole time, though. All right, well, run it back. We were close with being kind of mana screwed. Stack really wants to worship. We get to play first. And, all right, we'll keep it. Temple Garden. Untapped. Birds of Paradise. Pass the turn. Steam Vents. Untapped. And Bolt. Burst Lightning. All right. All right. Opponent passes. Well, we're drawing all of our heroic interventions. I don't know if that's good or not. Island. Grim Lavamancer. Well, we untap. Wall of Shards. Play a Guildgate. Pass the turn. Opponent. Passing. Well, you get to start gaining life. Well, let's Knight of Autumn. Opponent remands. Well, play the Guildgate. Pass the turn. Our long-term plan is to get down this Guild Summit through our opponent's disruption. Spire Bluff. Opponent. Passing. Well, you gain some life. Well, let's Guild Summit. Resolves. Tap a Guildgate. Draw a card. Play a Guildgate. Draw a card. All right, well, that's good. We got our card advantage engine down. Pass the turn. Opponent. Thinking. Snapcaster Mage. Burst Lightning. Yep. I mean, I guess our opponent's plan is to burn us out. Our plan is to resolve Worship. Down to 16. Opponent untaps. Mutavault. Opponent passes. Well, you get to gain some life. Opponent is going to gain a lot of life. Knight of Autumn. Well, play a Guild Summit. Tap our Guildgates. Draw 2. Play a Guildgate. Draw 2. And pass the turn. Discard a Temple Garden. Wizard's Lightning. 13. Alright, well, let's see what happens. Opponent untaps. Combat. Passes. Opponent gains a bunch of life. Up to 27. Well, play Knight of Autumn. Gain 4. Up to 17. Play Knight of Autumn. Gain 4. Up to 21. Guildgate. Draw a couple cards. Pass the turn. Well, we might actually be in decent shape here. Wizard's Lightning down to 18. If we ever get down this Worship, we should be good. Very, very good. Opponent, Delver. Passes. Alright, opponent gains a bunch of life. Up to 33. Knight of Autumn. Now, play Arcades. Opponent counters. Well, I guess this is as good a time as any to try to Worship. They could have Spell Pierce, but play Worship. Actually, do we want to attack? Let's not attack. I think we win the long game. Opponent untaps. So if we get to untap with double Heroic Intervention in this setup, it should be hard for our opponent to kill us. Then we just got to make sure we can kill our opponent eventually. Opponent passes. Well, yeah, gain some life. Temple Garden. Well, play a Guildgate. Draw 2 cards. Ooh, there's Tree of Redemption. And Tree of Redemption. I'll play Tree of Redemption. And pass the turn. And now I guess we start attacking. Opponent shoots down a Knight of Autumn. Takes 2. And pass the turn. Obstructionist. 1 card in hand. Delver, does it flip? It flips with a Burst Lightning. That's fine. Opponent passes. Alright, we untap. Opponent gains a bunch of life. I am a little worried about the amount of life we're making our opponent gain. Sylvan Caryatid. So let's Knight of Autumn. Gain 4. Tree of Redemption. Temple Garden. Tapped. Pass the turn. Opponent. Pyromancer. Okay. Oh boy. Well, alright. Exchange life totals. Untap. Wall of Shards. I guess we gotta keep it going for now. Birds of Paradise. Well, play Sylvan Caryatid. Play Birds of Paradise. Play Wall of Shards. Pass the turn. Yeah, no attacks. Opponent. Burst Lightning makes a dork. Oh, kills our birds. Yeah, that's fine. Opponent Ops makes a dork. Well, we're going to need to resolve a way to attack with our walls, or we're just going to mill ourselves out. Opponent, land. Stride to the bottom. Passes. Alright, we're going to let this Wall of Shards go. Start over with a fresh one. Opponent gains 1. There's a Guildgate. Draw a couple cards. This deck. Play Caryatid. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Passes. We untap. Opponent gains some life. We draw Forest. Play the Forest. Pass the turn. Does this actually end with us milling ourselves out? That's disappointing. If they can counter our assault formations, I'm afraid that's what's going to happen. Opponent untaps. Or if we just don't draw them for a long time. Opponent passes. Opponent gains some life. Well, there's assault formation. Does it resolve? Well, we can pay for Mana League. Pay. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. Now we get to... Now we should be good. Turn on Wall of Shards. Go to combat. Get in with Wall of Shards. Hit our opponent for 8. Play a Wall of Shards. Pass the turn. And now with double heroic intervention to protect our assault formation, now I think we're actually going to get there. Opponent. Lava-mancing. Kills a Knight of Autumn. Sure. Untaps. Land. Tapped. Opponent. Passes. Alright, so opponent gains a bunch of life. This is slowing down our killing our opponent plan. Wall of Shards, Wall of Shards. Caryatid. Well, assault formation for Wall of Shards. Assault formation for Wall of Shards. Assault formation for Tree of Redemption. Go to combat. Attack. Opponent blocks. Well, let's pump. And, yeah, it's good enough. We've seen Mana Leak. We really want to be careful about leaving up these heroic interventions. That's our main goal here. Land for our opponent. With double heroic intervention, it should be pretty much impossible for our opponent to kill us, since we can protect our board and our worship. And then we just trust that we get there eventually. Eventually, we'll draw into a Hold the Gates, and that'll speed things up. All right, kills Knight of Autumn. Yup. Also fine. Opponent passes. Yep. We make our opponent gain a bunch of life. We actually wouldn't mind just drawing a Guildgate to draw some cards, because I think Hold the Gate is our best draw now. There's a Guildgate. All right, play Guildgate. Draw 2. Worship Wall of Shards. Well, attack with Wall of Shards. Attack with Wall of Shards. Go to combat. Swing. Opponent. Taking it. Well, 1, 2, 3. Pump. Hit our opponent for 18. Play Wall of Shards. Pass the turn. Okay. I think it's working. Wall of Shards drawn. Opponent. Passing. We untap. We draw. Opponent gains. This does really slow down the killing our opponent process. Because our opponent's gaining 6, like 10 life a turn now, and it's increasing by 3 each turn. 6, 9, 10. Yep. So next turn will be 13. Well, there's a gate. Draw a couple cards. Guildgate. Spellskite. I'll go attacking with our Wall of Shards. Attack. 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 Play Spellskite. Go to combat. Swing. Opponent takes 24. Down to 12. Now play Sylvan Caryatid. Pass the turn. All right. What can you do, opponent? Can you find your way past the wall of shards? We have not found a hold the gate. Found it. Passing. Let's go up to... Well, alright. Let's just untap. We untap. Opponent gains a ridiculous amount of life. 13 life. But we're still hitting for more than our opponent's gaining. We might have to sack a wall of shards eventually. Although, with this Young Pyromancer, we need our flyers to actually get in. So opponent gains a ton of life. I think we finally have them to where they have to block or do something. Okay. That changes things. That is hold the gates. That's what we were looking for. Hold the gates. Gotcha. Now they're big. Guildgate. Draw 2. Let's attack. 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 Do we get ya? Well, I mean, at this point, we might as well attack and attack. It's working. It's working. Attack, attack, attack. We have a 0-15 spell skite. Okay. What do you say to that, opponent? Snapcaster. Sure. That's fine. Cute, even. Lightning bolt, yeah. Well, I mean, when the deck works, it kind of works. Mutavault. I don't know how our opponent gets out of this. Especially since the Spellskite can... This 0-15 Spellskite can eat any number of lightning bolts. About it. Firing up the crew. Bolts our face. Well, yeah. Alright. Let's go to Spellskite instead. It's so big, we might as well. Opponent. Blocks. 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 Alright. Well, let's go up to 33. Opponent. Toughness boost with Tree of Redemption is actually kind of hilarious. Opponent passes. Well, you get to gain a bit of life. I mean, I think this is over. Actually, let's sack the one that's making our opponent gain 8. Even though with hold the gates down, it's still worth it. Opponent gains some life. Gain some life. Guildgate. Draw a couple cards. Assault Formation. Assault Formation. Assault Formation. I mean, we're going all the way. Assault Formation. Assault Formation. And Trees of Redemption 2, I guess. Assault Formation. And Assault Formation. Well, here we come. Alright, opponent. What do you say? Whoo! Scoops it up! And... Yes. Got him. We got him. Well, that's when the deck looks good. That's when the deck looks good. Oh, my lord. So, hey, all right, much Abrew about nothing time. We are, oh boy, this hand. We are playing Gatewall Worship in Modern, and we got Guild Summits. This looks like a hand that I would be thrilled to have in Standard. Look out. Sultai, we're drawing some cards. In Modern, not 100% sure how this will work. We will see. We will see. We will see. I mean, maybe it'll work. We are on the play, which help. Drawing an untap land to play Guild Summit on turn 3 would be nice, or like a Birds of Paradise or something. If it's a fair matchup, this could be fine. Well, Guildgate, go. What's our opponent up to? Something fair. Pluto Delta. Cracks it. Watery Grave. Untapped. Thought Scour. Okay. So we're playing Death Shadow. Psycho Street Wraith. Well, Selesnya Guildgate. Go. Bloodstained Mire. Cracks it. They're gonna have a Death Shadow already. That's not ideal. It is kind of funny that some of our walls can block it, though. True Redemption? Hard counter. Hard counter to your Death Shadows. Opponent. Gurmag Angler. Alright. And passes. Well, Guildgate, go. The all Guildgate hand is a tiny bit slow. Opponent untaps. Bobble. Cracks it. Gets a look at a Guildgate, most likely. What do you got, opponent? Blood Crypt. Tapped. Combat. Gets in. Hits us. Down to 15. Passes. Draws a card. Well, Guild Summit. Would you like to counter? No. Okay. Well, Guildgate. Draw a card. Ooh, Arcades. We're gonna need something that stops this Gurmag Angler at some point. Street Wraith. Cycled. Pluto Delta. Opponent cracks it. Island. Uh-oh. Is it Death Shadow time? Ugh, Gurmag Angler Part 2. That's bad for us. Gets in. Down to 10. Passes. Oh, Guildgate. Draw a card. Ugh. Yeah, this hand didn't quite work out. Knight of Autumn. We gotta gain life just to stay alive. Pass the turn. Ugh. So how can we... Yeah, we needed walls. We didn't really find them. And Gurmag Anglers are just big. Opponent. Attacks. Well, we'll block. Oh, they have Battle Rage? Snapcaster Battle Rage. Alright, well. Okay, that one was brutal. Oh dear, this sideboard. Nothing? This deck. So, Worship is good against this deck if we get it down. I guess that's our main plan. We probably want Auriok Champions, just because they have protection from Death Shadow and Gurmag Angler. Go down a Knight of Autumn. Go down a Knight of Autumn. No. Heroic Intervention, probably not. Pithing Needle, definitely not. Yeah, I guess we can go up a Heroic Intervention for a Knight of Autumn. Knight of Autumn doesn't seem that good in this matchup. We do have good big blockers if we get them down. Well, this hand has good big blockers. Alright, this hand's interesting. Guildgate, go. So something to keep in mind if you play this deck, all your untapped mana is green. So in a case like this, Azorius Guildgate, better, because if we draw an untapped land, it's going to be green anyway. Watery Grave, Street Wraith, oh boy. Wall of Shards is hilariously good against Death Shadow. Opponent, passing, untapped land. Alright, Guildgate. So Guildgate, go. Doing it the slow way. Pass the turn. Opponent, Bloodstained Mire, cracks it. Blood Crypt, untapped. Death Shadow, alright. Opponent, passes. Well, play Wall of Shards. Play Guildgate. Pass the turn. Ugh. They have the Fatal Push. Alright. Well, untap. Polluted Delta. Cracks it. Yeah, this is not good. 7. Gurmag Angler. The hits just keep coming. Opponent gets in for 6. Well, we untap. Guildgate. There is a downside to playing all tap lands, which we're kind of seeing this game. It's just hard for us to keep up with our opponent because all of our lands are tapped. Steam Vents untapped down to 4. Snapcaster for Fatal Push, and that be the game. Well, okay. There's good news and bad news with Gatewall Worship. That was the bad news. Next time, perhaps. I mean, our deck has some good things going on in this matchup, but boy, we have to play so off curve because we're playing so many tap lands that it ends up being pretty painful sometimes. Well, we'll get him next time, hopefully. All right, much Abrew about nothing time. We are playing some Gatewall Worship in Modern, and we'll try this. We got our gates. We have, I mean, Sand's not the worst. Not good against unfair decks. Against fair decks, it's probably fine. Well, Guildgate, go. Opponent. Untap land, that would be sweet. Forest. And Bird's Paradise. Well, Guildgate, go. Opponent, untaps. Kind of like this forest. It's a good white bordered forest. Opponent. Island. Ooh, is this a Vanifar deck? That's, I don't know if we can beat Vanifar. Opponent passes. Well, let's play Caryatid. Play a Guildgate. Pass the turn. Yeah, definitely a Vanifar deck. Okay, we do have some sideboard cards that are good, like Pithing Needle. But main deck, we don't have removal, and I guess our main out is Worship in the main deck. And hoping that they can't tutor up a way to deal with it. Opponent, tap land. And gets in. Sure. We will take it. Down to 17. Opponent passes. Well, that is a Worship. Alright, well, I guess that's our plan. Worship. Guildgate. Go. Well, at least this means our opponent needs an extra step. They need to tutor up something to kill Worship before they can kill us with damage. I expect that they have like a Knight of Autumn or something in their deck, but this does give us a bit of hope. And then maybe we can just draw into more worships. Maybe we can draw into enough worships to not die. I guess that's our best chance in this matchup. Opponent. Grove of the Burn Willows. And Zealous Conscripts. Untaps Birds. Okay. Opponent. Gets in. Yep. Down to 11. How do we want to do this? I think we just play a forest. Play Doran. Play Wall of Shards. Pass the turn. The Zealous Conscripts, if they go infinite, I guess that does beat us. So they make infinite Crosses and then copy Zealous Conscripts to steal the worship. Forest. Combat. No attacks. Alright. Well, opponent gets to start gaining life. Wall of Shards. Alright, so Guild Summit. Tap our gates. Draw some cards. Play a gate. Draw a card. Yeah, I guess we attack with Doran. Opponent takes it. Alright, pass the turn, see what they find. Uh-oh. Cord? Cord kills us. Yep. Oh, Cortex 4. Interesting. Gets Prime Speaker. Well, alright. I mean, I assume we're dead here. We should be. Assuming our opponent knows that we're dead, it's not the most intuitive to go infinite and then steal worship, but we'll see. Oh, alright. Well, that makes it easy. Opponent just had a deputy detention. Okay. Boy. So, Pithing Needles in. Auriok Champions in. Another counter to the combo. Heroic Interventions in. Hold the Gates. I don't know if we want any of them, honestly, in this matchup. Go down most of the Hold the Gates. Go down the Knight of Autumns. And run it like that. That's our game plan. So we do have a couple of cards that are actually good in this matchup. Although Vannevar decks are built to overcome the answers. So we'll see. Worship. So our best cards are Worship and Auriok Champion. Those are like our hard counters to the combo. Not having any real removal is a somewhat risky technique. All right. We are on the play and all right. I mean, this hand's not bad. Selesnya, Guildgate, go. We have mana, we have a worship. We don't have anything to protect our stuff, but opponent. I guess we can also go beatdowns with Assault Formation, Wall of Shards, Misty, cracks it, Breeding Pool, untapped, and Noble Hierarch. Yup. Well, play Birds of Paradise, play Golgari Guildgate, pass the turn. Grove. Yup. Opponent. Alright, Kitchen Finks, that's fine. Opponent passing. Yeah, we would have liked to draw a land there, but play Caryatid. Pass the turn. Doing it the slow way. Opponent. Combat. Attacks. Yup. Well, we take 4. Down to 16. And Scalding Tarn. Cracks it. Well, that's Vannevar. Well, we have one slight hope. We play a worship, we pass the turn, and cross our fingers. Hope for the best. Alright. I assume that Vannevar can kill us from here. Even through a worship, but we will see. Alright, Vannevar, sack Sphinx. Yeah, well, this F6, we can't really do anything about it. Hippocamp, untaps. Sack Sphinx. Opponent untaps. Sacks Hippocamp. So, I mean, our opponent can go infinite. Can they kill us through the worship? So I assume what happens here is our opponent... Oh, maybe they just have the answer in hand. Eldritch Evolution. Okay. They could have just Kiki-Jiki'd a bunch of times to make a bunch of Hippocamps, and then after they made a lethal amount of Hippocamps, instead of untapping Kiki, they could have untapped Prime Speaker and then just looped up into it, like 2-drop into Script Ranger into Night of Autumn, but this also works. And, alright. Not having any removal is a somewhat risky plan. This deck. Oh, God. It is against the odds, that's for sure, even though we're playing it on Bunch of Brew. Well, we'll try it again. Alright. Much ado about nothing time. We are playing some Gate Wall Worship in Modern, and we got walls, we got worship. Lava Spike. Well, this hand might be good enough against Burn. Guildgate, go. I mean, our lands come into play tap like crazy, but we have life gain. Bloodstained Mire cracks it. Oh, not Eidolon. Please not Eidolon. Sacred Foundry untapped. It is an Eidolon. Alright. Opponent passes. Play Birds of Paradise. Take 2. Oh, these tap lands, these Guildgates. Pass the turn. Alright. Alright. Opponent, combat, attacks, gets in. Sure. Down to 13. Can we get down to worship before we die? That is the question. Riftbolt suspended. Scalding Tarn. Passes. Well, let's Night of Autumn. Take 2. But gain 4 up to 15. Play a Guildgate. Pass the turn. Alright. We have hope. Opponent cracks. Mountain. Boros Charm. Down to 11. Untaps. Riftbolt. Face. Down to 8. Yup. Opponent. Skewer. Down to 6. Or 5. Eidolon. Oh my god. Okay. Opponent passes. Well, we play a worship. We play a Guildgate. Pass the turn. Alright. What do you got? I guess a Skullcrack still could beat us. Opponent, combat. Passes. Well, play a Spellskite. Play a Wall of Shards. An opponent scoops it up? Huh! Worship! Just fast enough. Okay. Well, we got a plan against Burn. Worship them. Go up the Auriok Champions. Those seem helpful. Go up 2 Heroic Interventions, I think. And I think we just cut Hold the Gates in this matchup. Run it like that. We don't really need Hold the Gates. Our creatures are bigger than their creatures anyway. We basically need our life gain. Oh, yikes. Alright, we're going to keep. We do need to draw land, but we got a tap land anyway, so turn 1 tap land, turn 2 birds. If we draw land for Sylvan Caryatid, that would be sweet. Here comes Goblin Guide. Opponent. Land. Alright, ooh, that's nice. That's a untap land. A rarity in our deck. Well, Forest and Birds of Paradise. Pass the turn. Sacred Foundry, untapped. Searing Blood. Boo. Yup. Down to 15. Opponent gets in. Land. Alright, we do get a land. Down to 13. I'll play Birds of Paradise. Play a Guildgate. Pass the turn. This is going to be close. Can we lock it in before they burn us out? Opponent. Eidolon. Combat. Gets in. Auriok Champion on top. Well, untap. Opponent missed their land drop. So I think we just Night of Autumn. Gain 4. Play Guildgate. Pass the turn. Opponent. What do they got? Ugh, another Searing Blood. That's bad. That's really bad. Down to 10. Down to 6. We get a Guildgate. Untap. Now play a Worship. Guildgate. The problem is they can theoretically kill our birds and kill us. And then this Worship doesn't do anything since we only have 1 creature. Opponent. Combat. Attacks. Top of our deck. Caryatid. Down to 2. Land. Passes. So I guess we just play Auriok Champion. Pass the turn. Lean on this Heroic Intervention to keep us alive. Opponent untaps. And scoops it up! No answer! Huh! And Gate Wall Worship. Well, we finished with 2 wins, which is 2 more than I would have guessed. We got absolutely wrecked some games, but we also did some pretty sweet stuff some games. So, sweet, I guess. When we talk about it in the wrap-up, no treasure chest, but, well, it wasn't a complete trade wreck, and it was pretty hilarious when it worked. So what do we learn this week about gate worship walls? And we won 2 matches. We won 2 matches, and that is 2 more than I thought heading into it. So we finished our league 2-3, which obviously that's not a winning record. It's not a great record. It's not a feed the children record, but it is, you know, something. We did manage to win some games with gate worship walls, and really, I think these matches were a pretty good example of how this deck works. We saw the good and the bad. So the good is we do just kind of lock some decks out of the game. The Wizards match was pretty sweet. We get down our worship, we protect it, we have these huge walls. Our opponent gained a ton of life with Wall shards, but it didn't matter because eventually we find our finishers and win the game. Also gets burned. We just play a worship, play one big creature, and they're like, oh, okay, we'll scoop it up. So we got to see the good side of the worship locks, drawing literally our entire deck with guild summits and these weird janky walls beating down. On the other hand, our other matches kind of gave us an example of the downside of this deck, which probably the best example of this was against Death Shadow, where we're just like, tap land, go. And they're like, oh, cycle a bunch of stuff, shock ourselves, get down to 13, play a Death Shadow. And we're like, tap land, go. And they're like, oh, let's Teamer Battle Rage this massive creature and just kill you. So we saw the clunky slowness of playing a lot of tap lands. I think 18 tap lands in the deck, forcing us to play off curve, making us play our 3-drop on turn 4, our 4-drop on turn 5, which in some matchups is fine, especially if we have like a Birds of Paradise. The deck really wants 1 untap land in its opening hand, maybe 2 untap lands to make it run a little bit smoother. So as far as playing this deck, I don't even know what to say. The deck is ridiculously spicy. It does occasionally win some games, as we showed. I don't know if there's a way to make this competitive, though. So I think that the gates are the problem. We saw the power of gates with Guild Summit, but we also really struggle with the tap land problem. I think we have played some competitive wall decks, and they're mostly like big mana, infinite mana type decks. Those decks can be good. This deck, combining the wall theme with the gate theme, I don't know if it's worth it. I almost think that where this deck really wants to be is you can play possibly a really sweet gates deck with Guild Summit, which is really powerful, but play it more like a control deck, and then play a powerful walls deck that has untapped mana, and you can either win aggressively with like Arcades and tower defense and whatnot, or you could go on the combo plan and just play a bunch of walls, make a ton of mana, go infinite with a Staff of Domination or whatever. So I feel like this deck, as far as being competitive, it's kind of doing too much. It's kind of mashing together 2 themes that they do loosely work, and Hold the Gates is the card that ties them together, although Hold the Gates, I don't even know how necessary it is. Like, based on our experience with the deck, the problem with the deck was never our creatures weren't big enough. That was never a struggle. Like, if we can make our creatures attack equal to their toughness, they're huge and game-ending even without Hold the Gates. However, the problem was our tap mana made it so we just often were too slow for getting anything down, and Hold the Gates doesn't really solve any of the deck's issues. So I almost think that we have 2 decks that are mashed into one here, and while it's really fun and really spicy, and when you get the right draws and hit an untap land and the matchup isn't too fast and unfair, the deck can do really crazy things, but it's probably better to separate these 2 decks, play like combo walls or aggro walls, and then play a gate deck, because I was impressed with Guild Summit. Also, one last piece of feedback. This might be the worst sideboard of any deck I've ever played. It is a little rough around the edges. There is not a single removal spell in the 75, which that's a risky plan to just go no removal at all. And we saw this when we got crushed by Mill. Like, we just could not get a Hedron Crab off the table, which made the matchup pretty much unwinnable. So I feel like maybe the sideboard could use some reworking. There's a lot of cards that I would consider Tron hate. Even Pithing Needle, I mostly associate with like shutting down Planeswalkers, which makes me think Tron. So I feel like the sideboard is overloaded towards dealing with the Tron matchup and not really flexible enough. So honestly, if I was building the sideboard, Pithing Needle, I don't know if I'd play more than like a copy. Or yeah, Champion, it's fine. I don't know how necessary it is. It is nice against burn or whatever, but it could be something else. Heroic Intervention is good. Crumble to Dust, I don't know if it's really necessary. Maybe a copy or two. Nimble Obstructionist, I have no idea what that's fighting, why it's in our sideboard. It doesn't even work with our deal damage equal to a toughness plan. So I feel like you should basically replace the entire sideboard almost. Like, keep a few cards, the Heroic Interventions, maybe like a Pithing Needle, maybe a Crumble to Dust, and then kind of just rebuild with more typical stuff. Some counter spells, some Path to Exiles, maybe a sweeper of some kind, and kind of go more in the normal sideboard direction, because in a lot of our games we would pull up our sideboard and it would feel like we literally had nothing to bring in, and that's a little bit troubling. I'm sure if we ran into Tron we would be happy, but otherwise the sideboard just didn't offer much flexibility for other matchups, and it's modern. There's so many playable decks in the format. There's no Graveyard Hate, there's no Stony Silences, there's no targeted removal, so we're missing a lot of the best sideboard cards in the format that we can play at no cost to ourselves. Rest in peace, there's so many good ones. So rework the sideboard if you want to play the deck. Otherwise, I mean, it's good enough. I don't think you can make this archetype super competitive. One possibility is maybe going in on Hyler over Assault Formation and Doran's and Arcades. There's a weird mashup of effects that allow us to attack, which is a little bit awkward. Like, Doran lets our creatures deal damage equal to their toughness, but it doesn't let our walls attack. Arcades allows our walls to attack and our walls to deal damage equal to their toughness, but doesn't actually help with like Spellskite, for example. And then Assault Formation does allow all of our stuff to attack and deal damage equal to its toughness, but we gotta pay a mana each time, which is a little bit clunky, especially in the early game. So maybe it would be better to go in on Hyler apart from these other options, drop some of those options and go that direction. So that's something to keep in mind. Maybe that could standardize the deck a little bit. The other option is with Hyler, then you can play like Wall of Denial and some of the big Shroud walls, which don't work with Assault Formation. So I feel like there are things you can do to tune the deck in its current form. I don't think with any amount of tuning, Gate Worship Walls will be a tier 1 deck or a super competitive deck, but you could make it better and a little bit more consistent. But if you want a competitive version of either of these, I am interested in trying a Gate control deck. Maybe we can play Maze's End. Like, Guild Summit is really powerful, so maybe we can make Maze's End work in Modern, at least as like an against odds deck. And if you want to play walls, play combo walls, aggro walls, or whatever. So anyway, I don't know. The deck did some crazy things sometimes. It was really interesting and fun, but we also got absolutely crushed in other matchups. So, that's what you expect, I guess, with Gate Worship Walls. And honestly, I was happy that we won 2 games, because I wasn't sure we would win any, so I'm not disappointed at all with our next performance. From what I was thinking heading into it, way better than I thought, because I was really afraid this would be like a 0-win type deck, and we did some really cool things sometimes. So, anyway, that's been Gate Worship Walls for Modern, and that's been our Much Abrew for this week. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.